6 straight seasons with 100 catches each, 4 consecutive first-team All-Pro selections. Everyone said Mike Tomlin couldn't control Antonio Brown. 3 franchises and 1 spectacular collapse later, the evidence says he was the only one who ever could. Antonio Brown's numbers in Pittsburgh looked untouchable. He had 6 straight seasons with at least 100 catches and 4 years in a row named first-team All-Pro. The league marveled at his production, and most analysts credited Brown's rise to raw talent and Roethlisberger's arm. But inside the Steelers' locker room, something else was brewing, a tension that finally broke through in January 2017. After a playoff win in Kansas City, Brown pulled out his phone and started a Facebook live stream. For 17 minutes, the world got a front-row seat to Tomlin's post-game speech, including a profanity-laced warning about the Patriots. The video racked up nearly 1 million views before it vanished, but the damage was done. Headlines called it chaos. Commentators said Tomlin had lost his grip on his star. The reality, Tomlin responded immediately. He called Brown's live stream foolish, selfish, and inconsiderate. In a press conference the next day, the team issued a written warning, fined Brown under league policy, and circulated a new social media policy to every player, requiring signed acknowledgments on the spot. Tomlin did not just vent to the cameras. He rewrote the rules and put Brown on notice, tightening the boundaries around a player whose production had started to outpace his discipline. The myth of the coach who was out of control was already taking hold, but the record shows Tomlin was the only one drawing a line when it mattered. In 2018, the warning signs multiplied. Police records document Antonio Brown hurling furniture from a 14th-floor apartment window, narrowly missing a toddler on the sidewalk below. The incident brought a property damage charge and a restraining order, but inside the Steelers building, it triggered something different, an emergency meeting with Tomlin, the front office, and team security. Tomlin delivered a direct message. Public safety violations would not be tolerated. Brown received a written warning, a $10,000 fine, and was placed in a behavioral support program organized by player development staff. The media, meanwhile, barely mentioned the team's intervention. Headlines focused on Brown's antics, painting Tomlin as a bystander. A few months later, Brown was pulled over for driving 102 miles per hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Tomlin addressed the incident in a press briefing, stating that every player is expected to represent the organization with responsibility. Another written reprimand went into Brown's file. Behind closed doors, the Steelers tracked each incident, quietly building a record of escalating risk. The breaking point arrived in Week 17. Brown, after missing practices and clashing with Ben Roethlisberger, was listed as inactive for a must-win game. Tomlin explained the decision as performance-based, but the message was unmistakable. No player, no matter his talent, was above the standard. The move drew criticism. Commentators accused Tomlin of caving or losing the locker room, but the official gamebook and internal memos show a coach making the call that most would avoid, blending support with real consequences. The containment strategy had reached its limit. The Steelers sent Antonio Brown to Oakland for a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick, numbers 66 and 141. For a player with 6 straight seasons of 100 catches, the return was shockingly low. Within weeks of the trade, the structure that kept Brown on the field vanished. The Raiders' training camp opened with Brown missing practices due to severe frostbite on his feet, a result of an unsupervised cryotherapy session. Team doctors diagnosed 3rd-degree frostbite and placed him on a restricted regimen, sidelining him for most of August. As soon as Brown returned, a new dispute erupted. The NFL denied his request to wear an outdated helmet, citing safety standards. Brown threatened to retire if he could not use his preferred model skipped team activities and filed a grievance. The league stood firm, and the Raiders backed the policy. Days later, Brown confronted general manager Mike Mayock in a heated exchange, reportedly shouting and daring the team to fine him. The Raiders responded by demoting him to the practice squad and considering a suspension. Each crisis followed the last with no pause, and there was no Tomlin to mediate, document, or enforce boundaries. Instead, the unraveling was public, fast, and beyond repair. The pattern that Pittsburgh had managed for years now played out in full view, and for the first time, no one could call it a coaching problem. Antonio Brown arrived in New England on a $7 million one-year contract, but the partnership unraveled almost immediately. On September 7, 2019, the Patriots signed him. By September 18, 2019, he was released just 11 days later. The trigger was sealed civil court filings that surfaced, revealing allegations that had not been disclosed at signing. Brown played a single game before the official transaction log marked his exit, the briefest stint of his career. In Tampa Bay, he joined Tom Brady's Buccaneers, a roster built for discipline and playoff runs. For a time, it worked. Then, on January 2, 2022, with 3 minutes and 43 seconds left in the third quarter against the Jets, Brown removed his jersey and left the field mid-game. The game book time-stamped the moment. He never returned to the NFL. Footage captured a player alone, disconnected, as the team pressed on. Two franchises with championship ambitions, two rapid collapses. No staff could contain what Pittsburgh once managed. Leadership gets tested when talent tests limits. Tomlin's restraint wasn't weakness, it was stewardship. Today, the record is clear. Containment was mistaken for chaos. Perception shaped the verdict, but facts rewrite it.